You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi. Lately, you may have noticed that the podcast has been branching out just a little bit. We've had some guest hosts and even episodes that have none of me on them at all. I've really loved these episodes lately. It makes me excited to listen to the podcast as a listener when I can hear from other Propagandhi fans, because all of you have stories and opinions and interpretations of these songs that vary from mine. Your lives connect to these songs in different ways. Recently, I invited any listener who might have a story to share about a specific song to share it in a mini-episode monologue and further this podcast as a community where more people can participate. If you have any ideas, I am always responding to email, propagandhipod@gmail.com. I am delighted to bring you this story from Max in Australia, discussing his love of March of the Crabs, from today's empires, tomorrow's ashes. Thank you so much to Max. Please enjoy his monologue about March of the Crabs.
Alright, hi, my name is Max Barker. I'm recording this for Unscripted Moments podcast about Propagandhi. I'm a father of two. I teach primary school or elementary school performing arts, and I live with my kids and my wife and my dog on the western suburban fringe of Melbourne, Australia. Propagandhi changed my life when I was a teenager, when I was about 14 years old. In 1997, I heard Let's Talk More Rock, and it completely and utterly changed my understanding of the world. I absorbed that album into my very being for years. My life was irrevocably changed by the way I understood the world, the way I saw the world around me and my place in it. When Today's Empires came out, I was so stoked and so pumped. I have a clear memory of getting the bus to the mall on a Monday morning to buy the CD, hustling back to school. I was in grade 11, putting it in my Discman and firing it up in the morning on a Monday in my art class. And when that riff from Mate Carl Morris kicked in, just blew my fucking head off. Been absolutely locked in ever since. Favourite band. Seen them live 3 times. Saw them in 2009 on the supporting cast tour in a youth centre in Canberra, Australia. Remember, my leg was in a cast and I'd just been dumped, so it wasn't the best night, but it was pretty amazing seeing them in such a small venue. Saw them in 2014 on the Failed States tour in Melbourne, and it was an amazing show because they had some kind of issue with their flight or something, and they were all really sort of frazzled, and they kind of threw the set list out and just played a few requests, and they started the show by playing the opening track of all of their albums in chronological order, which was pretty incredible. Then I saw them in 2019 for Victory Lap in Melbourne, and I got to meet Todd and Chris after the show and tell Chris or the impact he's had on me, which was it was a life highlight, absolutely. So there were any number of songs that I could have picked to talk about that have had a huge impact on me or meant a lot to me, but I decided to go with a track that might be slightly less obvious. I think it's kind of underrated. It's the 13th and penultimate track from Today's Empires, Tomorrow's Ashes, March of the Crabs. It's absolutely in the conversation for my top 3 favourite prop songs, and even if it's not the one that I think is the best song in terms of what might be the, just the most kick-ass or the most intricate or the most, mind-blowing, it means a lot to me personally. It's got a really special place in my heart. Musically, it rips. It's a Todd song. I'm a big fan of Todd's songs. I love the kind of more just straight ahead grunt hardcore he brings. I also love the fact this is one of the very few tracks I can think of where Todd and Chris both sing. I know they sing on Ordinary People Do Fucked Up Things as well from that album. I wish they'd do it more. It's a really cool sound. And when I was thinking about the music, I was thinking about the theme of the song, which I'll get to in a minute, but I think there's actually a bit of a crossover with the theme of the song to the theme of to the sound of the music. If I had to summarize what I think the theme of the song is, to me, it's idealism being crushed by reality. So it's hopefulness and harsh reality. And in the song, especially the introduction, there's this guitar riff that kind of has this high sound, and then it goes into this low chugging sound. Back to the high. And to me, it's almost like that's a kind of a conversation back and forth between this questioning, searching, hopeful, ascending sounds and this more hard-edged, crushing reality. And that sort of goes back and forth for the introduction, so you're not quite sure what direction the music's going to head in. Then there's a quick pause, and it's straight into this pummeling, signature Todd low-end sound. And that's sort of like, that's the harsh reality has kind of won out. As far as the lyrics go, it's unlike a lot of Propagandhi songs, but similar to some other Todd songs, there's not 100% clear-cut subject for this song. As opposed to like Friends Like These, Who the Fuck Needs Contour Pro, or something like that, where you know what the song is directly talking about. This song is a little less clear-cut. And when I first heard the album, and I was first getting into Propagandhi, especially with this album and the next few, and I was really loving all those really cerebral, context-laden songs I could think about. This song, I kept coming back to it because it was a bit more mysterious, a bit more vague, a bit more enigmatic what it was actually about. And that always sort of pulled me in a bit. It was never as straightforward in terms of what it was really speaking about. And I think you could possibly analyze these lyrics and find a social or historical context for it, but that's not what I'm doing. This is about my personal reaction to the song and my journey with the song. What it meant to me back then and the way that its meaning is still revealing itself to me all these years later. So to summarize, for me, this song is about being a young person, seeing the toxic aspects of the world around you, realizing that you're swimming in those and wondering if you'll ever be able to escape them. For me, being a teenager, I was a smart kid, I was a sensitive kid. I gravitated to punk rock, gravitated to left-wing politics. Obviously, the impact of Propagandhi was enormous, but I never felt like I understood or fit in with the culture around me, the quote-unquote normal people, the way that society functioned, the way that my community functioned, always seemed like it wasn't quite right, always seemed to have this darker edge. It seemed like something of a charade, a Potemkin city. There were things that were accepted in the world around me that I believe were wrong, and the fact that they were so prevalent and so accepted made me feel insane. We stood our ground waiting for the fight to begin. My eyes squinted in the sun, wondered if they'd spring or run. To me, that takes me right back to high school. This feeling of this ever-present threat of violence just sort of coursing through the whole atmosphere. Because I know that in many ways, the culture I was raised in, comfortable middle-class, white, suburban culture, did have an undercurrent of violence. And there was things that were completely accepted and rampant. Homophobia, sexism, misogyny, racism, absolutely accepted and rampant in the school. And I saw it played out in government and society and religion in suburban white culture in Australia in the 90s. And that atmosphere, that feeling is what I get from March of the Crabs. I tell no lie, jackknives and socks, we're all going to die. This feeling of being crazy, angry teenagers. Get the caskets ready, we're going to roll right through the city If the anger don't, if the boredom don't, the drinking don't. Drinking and violence and substance abuse was so normalized. And even if it wasn't outwardly accepted, it was completely normalized. Definitely drinking culture in Australia was and is extremely toxic. And that just, to me, that is my idea of growing up as a teenager and the society I grew up in, angry, drunken kids running around. But I also saw that reflected in the parents and the wider culture. Miserable people, substance abuse, toxicity, and a dark layer of culture and society. But who am I, fighting a war that I can't win, swelling with things we try to hide? That's the next level that this song really got me at. It wasn't the fact that I saw my own society and culture reflected in the song. It was that I saw myself as someone who could see past the negative aspects of society and envisage in themselves a better way of living, but weren't sure if they were able to achieve that, to get out of the culture they were in. A harsh return to slap you in the face, one last chance will leave this place. Can you ever really outrun where you're from? Can you ever really grow up and get past how you're raised? For me, the sort of the center point of this song, where it all hinges on, is the middle lines in the middle. There's a brief pause. A harsh return to slap you in the face, one last chance, we'll leave this place, we're all packing up and moving on. Dun, 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 dun. There's a very, very brief pause, and it kicks straight back in with what I think is the peak of the song. Double line, the couplet that says, got a war in the head, fear our lives won't pass as great events. As a teenager, so angry, so furious at the world, so mixed up, feeling like I didn't belong. That line, got a war in the head, was like my thesis statement. It just defined how I understood myself. And, 25 plus years later, it's a realization that I've slowly come to that I think Propagandhi speak about a lot, that Todd speaks about a lot. A lot of his songs are about generational trauma and the insanity of trying to survive within the society we live in. That it's completely normal to feel insane in a culture that's insane, in a culture that glorifies violence and that normalizes toxic behavior. It is normal to feel insane. To fear our lives won't pass as great events is another really important line to me. When you're a teenager, you think that you're going to be able to rise above the world you live in. Do you think you're going to change the world? Do you think you're going to become someone who is better than or different than the world you live in? And it takes a long time to accept your own place in the world. That's why this song is so special to me, and that 25 years later, it's still gaining new meaning. As an adult now, as a father, I can look back with empathy at the people, the individuals in the society I was raised in the culture I was raised in the schools and the churches and the communities I was raised in, and see that people who were living unfulfilled lives within the system that we live in weren't perfect, that they had traumas. And that trauma is generational, and it's a function of living in a capitalist society. Graves and memorial walls hold my family name, pills and bottles do the same, is such a evocative and strong line to me, and it sums up so much about the way that people cope and reflecting on where you come from. Coming full circle through the process of growing up, fatherhood, therapy, sobriety, I'm also able to accept myself, the fact that though my life may not pass as great events, I'm able to find a life that is peaceful, satisfying, and has meaning. And I can be at peace. I think for myself, and I know so many others, growing up with this band has been so incredible, because not only have they continued to provide such incredible music, as their music has evolved and progressed, they have evolved and progressed. And with each album, they speak more openly about the importance of taking care of yourself, accepting yourself, while still maintaining rage in the world around you. That is not a sustainable way to live, that you need to take care of yourself and look after those around you as well. I saw a comment on YouTube the other day under the new video for At Peace, which just said, "This band has helped me keep my head above water for 30 years. And I think that's so true for myself as well. For someone who feels like the world is insane, feels like they have a war inside their own head, just by trying to live in this world, Propagandhi make you feel like you're not insane. Propagandhi tell you that it's normal, you're okay, you can be at peace within this craziness. Better prospects lie up ahead."
The fight never happened. Cloud here, we all grew up. Mission accomplished.